Okay, so the first question is really, why now? Why right now is such a particularly important, significant time for us to be hearing the voices of young women in spirituality and religion? I'm thinking in particular the fact that it's almost a decade since 9/11. There are so many questions and insecurities around our economy, the environment, remaining issues around healthcare, and so on. And so Valarie, I'd like to turn to you first because you responded to the violence following 9/11.
Sure. What I've discovered, at least in my own experience, is that all of us, each and every one of us, has had a moment where the narrative that we've been born into, the narrative that we've been given by our country, by our religious institution, by our families, the narrative that assigns us roles according to our race and class, gender, or orientation, that narrative provides protection. It provides shelter. It sort of forms a home around us where we are offered some sense of security if we just don't rock the boat. But in those moments where we notice some dark oppression in the crevices, the narrative begins to crumble, and we have a choice, whether to bury our head inside that narrative and act as if these institutions speak to our actual experience, or notice the fear that stirs within our hearts, and the fear points in a direction, and in the direction the fear points, a whirlwind appears. And we have a choice to bury ourselves, to choose safety and security and stability, to let others dictate what we think we know to be true, or to face that whirlwind and not overcome our fear, but leap into it. And I can tell you after 9/11, our country said that we were united, that we were a country united in grief and resolve, and this is our new enemy, and that enemy looked like my brothers, looked like my cousins, looked like my grandfathers, and I had the choice of whether to believe what my country told me or to leap into that whirlwind outside of my bedroom window and take this journey across the country with my camera and capture these voices that spoke to what was really happening in our country, that exposed the divisions. And now what I really want to tell you is that when we leap, we fall. That these religious, national, familial institutions, these legal, cultural institutions are so rigid, these are institutions of power, that there is a cost to challenging them. And for me, when I leapt, I fell, and I fell hard, and I was broken and bruised and almost literally bleeding as people turned around and told me to go back to my country, told me that I did not belong and that I could never, in fact, belong. And I absorbed the trauma of the violence of the stories that I had gathered. So I say to you, when you leap, you will fall, whether it's whatever institution you're challenging, but down in that dark hole where you've fallen, I believe that we find a kind of freedom, a freedom that is worth the fall. Because indeed, this kind of freedom is the only thing that's ever changed the world. It's this freedom that allows us to challenge that language of power with our own voices, with our own stories, and inspire other people to leap into their own whirlwinds. And my God, even in the Obama era, especially in the Obama era, where all the problems we see that we thought we would just disappear are still very much with us, now is a time more than ever. We have a window of opportunity for each of us to challenge whatever we see in our own circles and to leap when the whirlwind appears.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the leap.